So, today we're diving into the story of one of India's most ambitious electric motorcycles, the Ultraviolette F77. Now, this bike launched with this incredible promise of a futuristic, super high performance ride. But for the very first people who bought one, that dream pretty quickly crashed into a very complicated reality. I mean, you'll look at the pictures, you read the specs, and the F77 looks like an absolute revolution. It's this sleek, powerful, futuristic machine. But the real story, as always, unfolds when you separate that polished marketing from the day-to-day grind of actually owning one. So what happens when that promise finally meets the pavement? Okay, so first up, let's talk about that promise. Because, Ultraviolette didn't just build a motorcycle. They were trained to build a whole experience. Everything about the original F77 was designed to be absolutely thrilling, starting right with its core performance. First off, speed. The F77 was claiming a top speed of 155 kilometers per hour. Right away, that tells you this wasn't just some city runabout. It was engineered to be a genuine performance bike, something you could actually take out on the highway. And then you get the real magic of a performance EV, 100 Newton meters of instant torque. Now, if you've ever ridden a powerful electric vehicle, you know exactly what this feels like. It's that breathtaking right-now acceleration the second you even think about touching the throttle. All that torque translates to a 0 to 100 time of just 7.7 seconds. And that put the F77 right up there against popular petrol bikes in that 250 to 300 cc range. It was proof that, electric could be every bit as exciting. And look, you just can't talk about the F77 without talking about the way it looks. The design is pure sci-fi, with this aggressive, almost predatory profile inspired by fighter jets. It was absolutely built to turn heads, and man, it definitely did. But then, the bikes actually started hitting the road, and a very, very different story began to emerge. For a lot of those early buyers, that high-tech promise quickly slammed into some pretty harsh real-world problems. This comment right here from a Reddit user just perfectly sums up how a lot of those first owners felt. It's like they were less of a customer and more of a test pilot for a product that, maybe wasn't quite ready for the public. And we're not talking about small things here. Owners were reporting some really serious stuff, from a critical design flaw in the swing arm to software bugs that could make the throttle completely unresponsive. These aren't just little annoyances. They're fundamental issues that can totally shatter your confidence in a bike. And check this out. This quote points to one of the most alarming problems. A flaw where the bike's own chain was literally grinding and cutting its way through the swing arm. For a machine this expensive, a mechanical problem that severe is a massive, massive red flag. So faced with this wave of pretty unhappy customers, Ultraviolette really had a choice. They could either ignore it or they could learn from it. And thankfully, they chose to learn. The result was a pretty major evolution of the platform, the F77 Mach 2. The Mach 2 wasn't just a facelift, it was a direct response to all those complaints. They added sophisticated 10-level regenerative braking. They put in crucial electronics like traction control, which was a huge deal. They improved the range, and they seriously beefed up the warranty, which is a pretty clear signal that they were finally confident in their own product. But here's the part that really stands out. To try and rebuild that trust, Ultraviolette announced that all of the original F77s would be upgraded to the new Mach 2 specs, completely free. Now, that is a rare and pretty awesome move that shows a real commitment to the people who believed in them first. But the company's vision goes way beyond just fixing the bike. They're actually focused on building a whole ecosystem around it, trying to solve everything from charging headaches to making long-distance touring a real possibility. And you can see that strategy right here. They now offer this whole suite of accessories, everything from faster chargers to touring luggage and even AI-powered safety alerts. It lets you customize the bike for what you actually need, whether that's just zipping around the city or heading out for a cross-country trip. And to tackle the biggest boogeyman for any EV owner, range anxiety, Ultraviolette is building out its own fast-charging network called Supernova. Being able to get up to an 80% charge in less than an hour, that's a total game changer. It makes longer trips way more realistic. And their ambition is clearly not just local. The F77 is now being sold in Europe. This chart just gives you a sense of the price difference, but what it really shows is them stepping into these mature, super competitive markets. It's a bold move, and it tells you they want to be a global player. So, all of this brings us right to the heart of the F77 story. It's a classic technology tale, one that anybody who gets excited about new gadgets or new vehicles is going to recognize. the early adopter's dilemma. I mean, this advice from Reddit is basically as old as technology itself, right? Being the very first person to own something brand new is exciting for sure, but it usually means you're the one paying to find all the problems that they're going to fix for everybody else later on. And at the end of the day, the journey of the Ultraviolette F77 is just a perfect case study of this. It's about that tension between a brilliant, bleeding-edge idea and the massive, massive difficulty of getting it right on the very first try. The promise was incredible, but the reality? It was a tough lesson for both the company and its first customers. So where does that leave us? Look, the F77's evolution into the Mach 2 and the company's promise to its first buyers, it really shows a shift from what felt like a paid beta test toward what could be the future of motorcycling. But the whole story leaves us with this huge question for the entire EV industry. Just how much should the first customers have to put up with for the sake of innovation?